Welcome to Learn While Traveling, the podcast where we explore language, life, and ideas while you're on the move. I'm Alex, joining you from Chiang Mai.
And I'm Mia, speaking from Lisbon. Whether you're learning English for IELTS, for work, or just for fun, you're in the right place.
Exactly. And let's be clear from the start. This podcast isn't just about IELTS. It's about learning naturally by listening to real conversations with rich vocabulary and clear sentence structures that stick with you.
Right, and today we're focusing on something that helps across the board, listening to natural conversations where we use fluent English, compound sentences, and expressive vocabulary. Great for IELTS, yes, but also useful in everyday life, work, and travel.
So, let's begin with a topic that comes up very often in IELTS Speaking Part 1, talking about where you're from.
A classic. And when I'm traveling, people always ask where I'm from. I usually say I'm from Vancouver, which is on the west coast of Canada. But I often add, it's known for the rain, but I love the mountains and ocean. It's a creative, peaceful city that I always miss when I'm away.
That's great. You're not just answering the question, you're showing something about yourself. I usually say, I'm from London originally, but I moved to Thailand for a slower pace of life and to focus on writing. It tells people something meaningful about who I am.
And that's exactly what makes it a good response, even in IELTS. You're using compound structures like but and so, and you're sharing something personal. That's what fluency sounds like.
And these answers work outside the exam too. Even in a casual conversation or a job interview, how you describe where you're from can reflect clarity, confidence, and personality.
Here are a few sentence patterns our listeners can practice. Try something like, it's a small town, but it has a lot of character. Or, even though it's busy, I like the energy. Or simply, it's not perfect, but it's home.
And here's a layer of science for the curious minds out there. There's research in environmental psychology that suggests the environment we live in, its noise, green spaces, even weather, affects our stress levels and mental well-being.
Which is why some people find it easier to focus or relax in one place compared to another. So even when you're describing your city in an IELTS exam, don't hesitate to go deeper. You're showing vocabulary range and thoughtfulness.
That brings us to our second topic, daily routines and habits. Another common area in IELTS, but also a great one to reflect on as a traveler.
Absolutely. And routines can vary so much depending on where you are. When I was in Morocco, for example, my routine included mint tea every night. It wasn't just a habit, it was a connection to culture.
That's a great example. For me, while living in Thailand, my routine usually begins with writing in the morning, followed by a long walk, and then work in a cafe. I try to keep evenings screen-free, though I admit I don't always succeed.
That's relatable. And here's something that can add depth to your answers. Talk about why your habits matter to you. For instance, instead of saying, I read books, you could say, I try to read every evening because it helps me relax and think more clearly.
You're bringing intention into your language, which makes your speech more compelling. As James Clear writes in his book Atomic Habits, our routines are small actions that shape who we become. That's a great concept to mention if you want to go beyond basic vocabulary.
And for IELTS preparation, here's a small exercise. Describe your daily routine using 3 sentences. Include at least 1 compound sentence and 1 emotional or reflective detail.
Something like, I usually start my day with meditation, which helps me focus better. Then I go for a walk, even when I'm busy, because I believe movement keeps the mind sharp. In the evening, I make time for reading to unwind.
That's perfect. It's fluent, thoughtful, and well-structured.
So today, we talked about 2 everyday topics, where you live and your daily routine, but we explored them through the lens of natural, rich English.
And that's the essence of this podcast. Learn something useful, sound natural, and enjoy the conversation. Whether you're studying for an exam or just walking through a new city, we want to be in your ears with something helpful.
And next time, we might mix it up even more. We could dive into a science concept, a cultural insight, or even something philosophical, but always through natural English that teaches you something real.
So, wherever you are, on a train, on a hike, or just sitting with a coffee, thanks for joining us.
This is Learn While Traveling. Keep listening, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.